So my name is Marijn Somers. I'll just go to the next slide. My name is Marijn Somers. You can call me Martin. You can call me Margin. You can just call me Hey You. I'll respond to whatever. That all works. I'm a freelance consultant based in Belgium. I'm doing a lot of projects in the Netherlands as well. And you might know me, if you know me at all, from this podcast that I've been doing together with Steve Dalby, who's currently presenting another session called Office 365 Distilled, where we are talking about Office 365 for 40 minutes, and then we end with a whiskey tasting. So we try to combine our two loves. So that works pretty well. Some people say that we should start with a whiskey tasting and then talk about technology. We tried that a few times, doesn't work out that good. So feel free to follow me on Twitter. Feel free to link on LinkedIn if you got any questions, any remarks, any whatever's, marital proposals, stuff like that. I'm open to anything. All right, so the agenda for today. I first want to talk to you a little bit about the MOCA framework. Who knows about the MOCA framework? Nobody? Cool. Then we'll dig into a few scenarios on meeting scenarios. Let's take a little look at policies and settings, and then we'll try to apply those things, try to make meetings great again, and then we will end with some etiquette examples, rules, things like that. So the MOCA framework is a framework created by Microsoft that actually explains how you can collaborate with other people, mainly in your organization. So you have 4 big groups. You've got you as a person, as an individual, and you're actually using a bunch of tools to do your job. So you're using Outlook, Word, Excel, those things. To do whatever you want to do. Now, you, of course, work in a team. Could be a project team, could be a departmental team. So you have to do a number of things there. You might be a member of one or more communities within the organization. And in the end, you're working for an organization, and that also enables you as an individual to do a bunch of things. Yeah. Now, if I want to use this drawing or this platform to look at different meetings that you might have. So in order to do that, first we need to add a few players that I think are missing. So if you're working in a team, you might also be working with some external people, external consultants. You might also need to work with customers, with partners, with suppliers. And within the organization, I think one important person was not mentioned, which is your manager, your boss. Yeah. So if we then take a look at our meeting scenarios within this collaboration architecture, then we've got hundreds, of course. So I'm just trying to add a few here. So we've got, for example, in our teamwork, we've got our daily stand-up meetings, if we're doing agile, Scrum-based meetings. We could also have like a steering committee where we are giving updates on the projects we are working on. We could also have work group meetings, like interviews with people, actual work meetings. We have our one-on-one reviews with the manager, also super important. We could have town hall meetings where the CEO is giving some more information about strategy and where they are thinking of going in the future. And we could also have community meetups within our organization. So those are a number of meeting scenarios that I want to talk about. Yeah? Now, if you want to organize a Teams meeting, you have a lot of options. And for a number of people, that kind of looks like this. a lot of times. So there are maybe too many options, too many buttons, too many things to control, to organize, to govern. So let's just take a look at some of the options. So if you're creating a new meeting, there are a number of options on what kind of meeting you can set up. So the easiest one is just to meet now. So I can just go to my calendar in Teams, for example. I can just say, okay, meet now. I get a link and I can just send that link to whatever kind of person who can just join me on the meeting. I could also make it a little bit more formal and send an Outlook invite for somebody on an Outlook-based meeting. I could also start from a Teams channel. So I can have a channel meeting. I could also have registration available, so I could make it into a webinar. And you can also go really crazy and create a live event, which is something that is, in my opinion, the hardest thing to set up, the hardest thing to work with. Yeah. So those were the types of meetings that we can create. We also have a bunch of policies and settings that we can set up. So on the one hand, we can have a lot of admin settings and policies that we set up in the admin center. On the other side, we also have a bunch of things that we set up or that we can set up on the meeting itself. Yeah. So if we go to the admin center, there are a number of policy implementation things that we can set up. And this is something I didn't know until I was creating this presentation. That's the best way to learn, is that there are 2 or 3 different ways of setting up a policy. There are policies that are based around the organizer of a meeting, and there are policies that are set up by every user that is linked to that policy. So for example, for the organizer, one of the examples is automatically admit people. So that means that if I'm organizing a meeting and I'm in a policy that has that, everybody in my meeting would be automatically admitted. While if that's turned off for somebody else who is organizing a meeting, everybody wouldn't automatically be admitted. Yeah. So that's one hand. On the other hand, you've got per user, for example, the meet now in a channel is a setting that is set up per user. So some users can do that, others can't. And then on the third option is per organizer and per user. For example, if you want to allow cloud recording for meetings. Now, one of the examples why you want to set up different policies is, for example, when you've got one of the offices that is in a place where there's really a low bandwidth issue or problem. So what you probably want to do is you want to create a special policy just for the people in that office where they can't turn on their video, where they can't record stuff, so that they don't get into too much problems with that low bandwidth situation. Yeah. Also, don't forget to add users to the policy. So I've done that a few times where I created a really nice policy with nice name, turned everything on and off, and then forgot to add users. So it's totally useless. So don't forget to do that. So that's things that you can do on the admin level. I'm not gonna bore you to death by looking at all the options that you can set in the admin level. You can do that yourself. There are also a bunch of options that you can set up in the meeting itself. And those are things that the organizer of the meeting can set up. And that's super important to know, because depending on the scenario of the meeting, depending on the person that wants to set it up, you might have different outcomes. So for example, the lobby. Who can bypass the lobby? Will that be everyone? Will that just be external people? Will that be no one? That's important to know, especially if you're working with external people, if you're working with secret content. Do you want to have chat only available? Or do you want everybody to be able to turn on their microphone, turn on their video? Maybe if you're organizing a webinar, you might want to turn that off. You might want to take a look at what kind of applications I want to link to my meeting. Do I want to create polls, for example, things like that? Do I want to have together mode scenes on there? If I'm having kind of a fun meeting, I might want to create like one of those Star Wars or whatever kind of together mode scenes, and then we can have a meeting in there. If it's with customers and it's more formal, maybe I don't want to touch that. Do you want people to be able to present stuff or not? Do you want to turn that off? What about breakout rooms? How do you want to manage those breakout rooms? Do you want to be able to log the meeting? Do you want to log the meeting? I had a customer where they had some kind of meeting with the customer, and at some point the customer leaves the meeting and they will just stay there for 30 minutes and talk about things that the customer shouldn't be allowed to hear. You probably have that as well. And sometimes the customer would be able to get back into the meeting while they were talking about that customer, which is not very nice. So do you want to be able to log the meeting? That's something that you can do as well. And of course, also who can start the meeting. For example, if a customer is already a few minutes early, do you want that person to be able to already start the meeting and already start chatting with other people before you're there? So important things to think about. Now, next to all those things, we also have the hybrid workplace that we have to deal with. So how do we want to manage people that are working from home, people that are working in the office, people that are sitting together in a meeting room like we are, or people that are maybe traveling, that are on the train with a cell phone or mobile phone, with an earpiece? How do we want to manage all those things? How do we want to get them involved into our meetings? Yeah. I already said to a few people that there are a few updates coming. Microsoft just announced a few things. So one of the things that they announced, and is something that I'm pretty excited for, is the way that, and probably when you talk with a few of those vendors, they all have these cool cameras where they can look at a bunch of people. One of the things that is coming to Teams is that Teams will actually be able to chop that up and give you like proper presence in the meeting. Instead of this is the meeting room with 10 people, you would actually have those 10 people in the meeting. Now, next to that, and this is something I'm super excited about, I already told a few people that I was going to talk about something that has been announced but has been flying under the radar, and that's this one. When I send out an Outlook invite to people like, hey, we're having this meeting tomorrow. Today you can RSVP to the meeting. Yes, I'm going to come, or no, I'm not going to come. If you're going to come, I don't know if you will be in the office or if you will be working from home. That might be important. If I want to have a meeting with 20 people and you're all going to come to the office, I also want to come to the office because then I can see you all. And then I have to book a big meeting room. If you're all going to stay at home, I don't need to come to the office. I can just stay at home as well. Now, what Microsoft just announced a few days ago is that there's going to be an update for Outlook where I can send you the request for a meeting, and you can actually RSVP with saying, okay, I'll be accepting the meeting from home, or yes, I will be in the office. So this is something I'm super excited about, because that will be, I think, a game changer for your hybrid workplace management and how you want to set that up and how you want to deal with those things. And then the last thing we need to look at, or the last thing we need to take into account, is the formality level. Yeah. I can still remember when Teams was just announced, that we have all these GIFs and Giphies that you can do in your chat. And I had one customer that was a commission for environmental purposes. All PhDs, doctors in the whatever ecology things. And I was showing them Teams. I was trying to sell them Teams, and I was like, GIFs and Giphies. And they were all like, yeah, turn that off. That's, no. We're a serious company. We don't want to do that. So what is the formality level in the organization? I've got customers where everybody who joins the meeting always turns on their camera. I've got other customers where nobody does that, where I'm the only one. That's fine. Do you want to raise hands, or do you want everyone to just be able to talk, unmute, and start asking questions? Both are okay, but you just need to work out what kind of level your customer or your organization is. Do you want to use background blur? Or do you just want to be able to see whatever is behind you? No? Do you want, as a company, for everyone to have the same like background image? Like the logo image, things like that. Something that you can set up right now. So previously, like a few months ago, if you wanted to have that, you have to send that to everyone, all your employees, ask them very nicely, please add this image with our logo into your list of meeting images, background images, so that if you have a meeting with a customer, you have that nice company logo background. Now you can also push that out to all of your employees. Little caveat, you have to pay extra for that. It's a license thingy. And not a small one either. So, a tip, if you're having meetings, if you're organizing meetings, this should be by default for everyone by now. But I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little option in Teams that says add online meeting to all meetings, which means that every time you create a meeting in Outlook, it's all automatically a Teams meeting. I get a lot of meeting requests for online meetings that don't have a team link in there because people don't turn this on. And then 5 minutes before the meeting, I want to join the meeting and I open up that meeting thingy in Outlook and there's just no link. So that's pretty useless. So then I have to call that person and say, okay, update the meeting with a link so we can all join. So there's things that people need to do. All right, now let's make meetings great again. Once more, I'm not sure if you can see it in the back, but this is a little cartoon I thought was funny. Person says, okay, for this 1 hour meeting, I've made a presentation with 210 slides. Every slide is filled with lots of paragraphs of text, and I will now read each paragraph word by word. You've probably seen those things, yeah? So let's make meetings just great again. Let's not do these things, just make them good again. And to do that, I just want to go over those scenarios that I defined earlier, or that we defined earlier. And let's just take a look at how we need to set those up. So if you remember, the first one that we had was the daily Scrum stand-up meeting, Agile Workplace. Who of you is doing Agile work? Who of you is doing daily stand-up meetings? Wow, that many. Okay, cool. Cool. You all know what I'm talking about, though. Okay, cool, good. So you could organize this in lots of different ways. Yeah, you can have a recurring Outlook event, just saying, okay, every day from 8:30 to 8:45, I want to have a meeting with all the people in my team, and then suddenly after a few weeks somebody else joins the team, so now you have to update that meeting request, things like that. You could also do this in a channel meeting. So you probably are working in Teams. So what you could do is just create a new channel in Teams called Daily Stand-Up, for example. The beauty of that is you can just have that in the channel meeting, and you can just have your planner board as an extra tab into that channel. So that everybody who needs to be in that meeting also directly has access to that, that planner board where you're keeping all your tasks, if you're keeping it in Planner, of course. Now, another type of scenario would be to present a project update for a steering committee, for example. So you need to stand in front of an audience just like this, and you need to talk about why your project is late and why your budget is 20% up or over what the budget should be. So those are very fun meetings to have. So you probably want to do an Outlook meeting for those things. Yeah. So you probably want to invite the people that need to be there via Outlook and get them assigned to your or get them into your meeting. You probably also want to record that meeting because those are typically high-end meetings where a lot of managers are, so very expensive meetings. So you probably want to record those meetings and make it available later. Problem is if you just do it in Outlook, if I'm the organizer, the recording will just be in my OneDrive and shared with those people. That might not be very useful. So you might want to grab that recording and put it into the Teams team where you're managing the project. Alternatively, you can also use a channel meeting for this so that the recording is automatically uploaded in SharePoint into that channel. Yeah. Very important, also create a meeting agenda. That is something that people are not doing enough or not at all. 99% of my meetings or meeting requests that I get don't have any meeting agenda at all. So please don't do that. It's super annoying. Good. Okay, cool. Have you all seen this already? The new presenter options. Okay. So where you can have the side by side and the reporter options. So they're now rolling out. I've got them in my public preview. So it's super cool. You can do a bunch of things. There's lots of room for improvement, but I think it's really cool. So now you have like 4 different ways how you can show content as just show the content only, have it stand out, have it side by side with you and the content, or have that as a report view. All right, next one. We've got our project work group meeting. I also think this would be better off as an Outlook meeting where you just invite people that you want to interview, that you want to work with. Yeah. You probably want to have something like a whiteboard there. If you want to, maybe you want to present something, so you want to present content, probably you also want to do some whiteboarding. I know I do. When back before COVID, BC, like years ago, when we were all working in the office, I would always be up in a meeting and I would always be writing stuff down, drawing stuff, because that just makes it so much more easy for people to digest and to understand. So I would always be drawing stuff up. And now we've got, well, now we've had whiteboard for quite some time, but now it's getting nice upgrades because, to be honest, whiteboard was not really useful until a little while ago. So now it's getting very useful, really cool. So you probably want to have that there as well. Yeah? So you probably want to educate people on how to use the whiteboard functionality in Teams meetings. Yeah? Are there customers involved in those meetings? Think about how you want to present yourself or present your content when there are customers involved. Super important. Etiquette-wise, use find time. you need to find a good time to meet. This guy on the second row with the short hair, well, he used to have really long hair, now he's got short hair, is doing a session on creating good meetings later on. So definitely go to that one. And also, and this is something that everyone will thank you. If you haven't done it before, please do it. Make all your meetings 5 to 10 minutes shorter. That's an option that you can set in Outlook. The same screen that I showed you earlier, where you can make every meeting an automatic meeting. There's also an option to say, okay, make every meeting 5 to 10 minutes shorter. We're all working from home. We all are in meetings hour after hour after hour. We all have to pee. I know, even you, I know, you're looking at me like, no, I don't. Yes, you do. We all have to pee. We all have to drink coffee, whatever. So make those meetings 5 to 10 minutes shorter. Everybody will thank you for that. Also, find a good time to meet. Finding a good time to meet is sometimes a little bit like playing Battleship. Monday, 9 o'clock. No, that's not going to work. Okay, Friday, 4 o'clock. No, that's not going to work. Okay, Tuesday, 10 a.m. Yes, we've got a winner. So it's kind of like playing Battleship, finding a good time to meet. Take into account people have to bring their kids to school. People are having after lunch dips. So if you really want to drill down on content, don't do it from 1 to 3 in the afternoon. It's not going to work. Yeah. Use find time, check people's availability, and also take into account duration of meetings. I used to be in 4-hour work meetings where we would just plan half a day to do deep digging. That doesn't work. Like break it up into little parts. Okay, next scenario, the one-on-one review with the boss. Yeah, it's also super important. Probably also an Outlook meeting. You want to share something, you want to present something. You probably want to have something like Viva Insights to show them how busy you were. Give me the raise, I've been super busy. You probably also want to turn on the webcam for that personal environment, experience. You want to look your boss into the eye. When he says you're not getting a raise, you probably just want to stare him to death. Yeah. You probably also don't want to record those meetings. Maybe you do. Maybe it's official. Maybe you want to. Probably you don't. You probably also want to log the meeting so that nobody else comes joining while you're talking about budget raise. The next one is the community meetups. You probably want to have a webinar for that so that people can all just join. You can just set it up, show it in a nice events web part on SharePoint, and everybody can just go in there. You want to open it up as much as possible. Then you've got a choice. Do you want to open it up for external people as well? Is that kind of community that you have, or is it just going to be people in the organization? Do you want people to be able to register for the webinar that you're going to give? Or can everyone just join? Do you want all your attendees to be able to show their video, share their audio, like go off mute and start talking? Or where you suddenly hear the dog barking in the background and you've got 200 people and you don't know who it is? I don't know. Do you want to leave the chat open? That's always a good idea. Do you want to get the sentiment? Do you want to get your attendee list afterwards? Things that you need to think about. Polls, create them beforehand. Think about what you want to ask to the people and create those things before the meeting. There is also a new polls app coming. So know that it's coming. Definitely a way to create much better polls than the way you have to do now. Has anybody created a poll in a team meeting before? Yeah, there's too many steps involved. It's not difficult, but it's too many steps. Cool. If you are having a community meetup, probably you have a few speakers having a panel, maybe, something like that. So one of the cool things that you can do there is create your own together mode. Has anybody seen this announcement? Played with it already? Yeah, probably have the one from, what's it, not Sesame Street, but the other one, the Muppet Show, exactly, yeah. So that's going to be something that every company will have soon. Super easy to do. I really love how they done it. And I also tried it out last week, and this time it actually works. So a few weeks ago, they brought it out, and then you can publish it to your own organization, and then your organization couldn't find it. Now it actually works. So that's super cool that you can do that. And then the last one would be your company town hall meeting. Depending on the size of your organization, this might be a live event that you want to have. Also, where you want to have a producer and speakers. Maybe you only want to have this for employees, so that's a setting that you can set up. Like only people in the organization are allowed to come in here. If you set it up as a webinar, you can have the engagement report as well. But depending on the size of your organization, this might be a live event as well. And as a example, I also want to give you how Microsoft does their town halls. Don't worry, I'm not going to say anything out of bounds. So Satya Nadella, who became the CEO 7 years ago, has been hosting a monthly town hall meeting, for last 7 years for all 175,000 employees. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't know a lot of CEOs who are doing that. So with every project that I'm doing, I'm always saying to the senior management, please do stuff like this, be visible, write a blog, write a news post, I don't know, just show support. Not a lot of people do that. I think it's really cool that Satya does that every month. And actually, the reason why they do that is a number of things. Like they want to highlight how different it is working under Satya than under Bill. They also want to practice what they preach when it comes to company culture. They also want to talk about the ever-changing world, business needs that are changing, things like that. And also, they want to provide the opportunity to discuss things that are happening in the society as well. And also authenticity, which is a big part. And things that they learned, and I think the second one is the most important one here, is that the communication from Satya and senior leadership were voted as very influential, over the most influential source that shaped the employees' opinions about the company. So if you want to change your company culture, this would be an awesome way to do it. Or that's how Microsoft sees it anyway. So how do they do that? Every month, totally virtual. 45 minutes. Half of the time is content, half the time is Q&A. They've got around 25,000 people watching live in person, 10,000 on demand. They've got around 10 minutes of Satya just saying top of mind things. Then they've got 1 to 2 segments from leaders talking about new things, key moments. And then they always end up with something more fun, which is postcards from the field, where they talk to a leader in a country where that leader in the country will highlight whatever they've been doing. Now, the Q&A part, because Microsoft is such a big company, I don't know if you are all working in companies that have over 100,000 people, but this is like super professionally produced. Like the Q&A part, the weeks leading up to the event, they're going to look at Yammer, they're going to look at their daily pulse, they're going to do surveys to grab those questions. They're going to compile those questions, select the best ones, show them to Satya, which ones do you want to answer, show them to the management team. And then during the show, they will also monitor Yammer, and they will also do some live questions if they've got time for that. There's a whole playbook for that. I'm not gonna talk you through those slides with 200 paragraphs, but it's just lots of work where a lot of people are doing lots of crazy things. During the session, there's a whole team in the background working on monitoring the chats, monitoring the sentiment, and post-event, people are directly taking the recording, posting it online, posting the or grabbing the attendee reports, grabbing the sentiment reports, showing them back to the management so that they have something to work up to the next one, emailing everyone, post-event feedback forms, things that you will also get from Comes First probably in a few days. So there's a lot of production going on here. Yeah. So if you take a look at how they do it, because actually that's a fun fact, they're not using Teams to do it. They're actually using something else. They are using Teams, however, for example, that from the field part. So that manager will call in via Teams to be then directed into the show. They also have a sign interpreter there that will also show for people who can't hear, show them sign language for that. So roles involved for all this, it's a big list. Yeah. So probably you don't need all those things, but if you want to do a live event, I definitely think you should have at least one producer who is just involved with producing the whole live event and not speaking. Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit about etiquette rules to close off. And I think there's just one big rule that you can just apply to everything. And that is, with great power comes great responsibility. You probably know this quote. Okay. First, I want to talk a little bit about accessibility, because this is a topic that we don't do enough things with. Yeah. So include accessibility information in your invitation or in your communications. If you're going to have a sign language interpreter there, say that. If you're going to show things, say that. Yeah. Don't just use images in your invites. So I'm way too many times I get invites in my email where it would just be images that would be loading and no text. So for somebody who's blind, who's using one of those readers, that's just totally useless. Yeah. Use inclusive language. Yeah, it's very important. Make sure if you're showing video content that there's subtitles on there. Use the captioning system that's now built in, which is really great. And use sign language if you can, if you have that need as well. There's a whole sway from Microsoft with a bunch of accessibility things that you need to think about or that you can think about. So there's a link for that as well here. Then etiquette. Have a meeting agenda. That's if there's one thing that you remember from this session to do tomorrow, Friday, next week, whenever you create a meeting, add a meeting agenda, please. Stick to your time slot. I don't know how my time slot is going, but okay, try to stick to it. Make your meeting shorter by default. People will love that as well. And try to make your meeting smart. So SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, assignable, realistic, time-related. So what I want to say here is when you meet people, make points, make tasks. And like this person will do this by that day so that you have an outcome for a meeting. Too many meetings are just about talking. I have no idea what this slide is doing here, but anyway, Meeting invites. If you're talking to, or if you're creating meetings with external people, make sure that your meetings also reflect your company and your. So there's ways how you can set up your logo and things like that. So every time you create a new meeting request, those things will be on there. And then to wrap up, which was what I was trying to do, little wrap up. Different meeting scenarios require different setups. If you're going to do a town hall, community meeting, a one-to-one meeting, or a daily stand-up meeting, you want to have different options available. There are things that you want to do in one case that you don't want to do in the other case. Policies that you want to set up, types of meetings that you want to create. Think about those things. Analyze requirements, act accordingly. Policies that you set up, best practices that you set up, communicate those things to your end users in a variety of ways. Get the proper tools. There are a gazillion vendors out there that want to talk to you, that want to sell you a bunch of things. And a lot of those things are just amazing. Like those sound bars that you can have, all that technology, it just works a lot better. Who was in the keynote this morning where Caruana said that she hates people using those little earbuds? Yes, I agree. Don't do those. Don't use those. Get a proper microphone if you're working from home. Get that proper technology there. Get those proper tools. Don't use your webcam from the laptop that you got 5 years ago. It's not good. It was very funny, but yesterday I had a little meeting, a work meeting with somebody, and that person answered the Teams call on her phone, but she was talking to it like this, with the camera on, front-facing camera. I was just looking up her nose. That's really weird, but these tools have been here. We've all been working from home for the last, 18 months? Get proper tools, learn how to use them. So don't forget user adoption. Don't forget the technical literacy of people. So work with those people, train those people, give them advice, repeat, 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 and hope that they will learn from it. And that's all that I have for you. Do you have any questions? No questions? Any questions from the... Nobody?
No raised hands or anything.
Okay, cool. Yes.
Do you have any insight on whether Microsoft... Sorry. Do you have any insight on whether Microsoft are going to put the delaying meetings or finishing early, say the feature that's in Outlook, are they going to add that as a feature within Teams itself?
No idea.
Okay. Just thought
and if I did, I probably wasn't able to say that they would, but I don't think so. I didn't hear anything about it.
Okay.
I really hope that they would bring those two more together, like the Outlook calendar functionality and the Teams calendar functionality. Yeah. Because it's cool to have it in Teams, but really? Well, okay. So I wish I could give you a better answer for that, but.
Anyone else? No? That's it.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Now let's all get wasted. I mean, let's have some time for the next presentation.
Thank you. Should we do the swag now, quickly?
Yep.
We're a bit over. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And thank you to everyone online. We're going to close the call now. Thank you.